Great. So Joey, we are really excited to have you on Denver Family Institute's webinar series. Your presentation is coming up on May 26th. And I just wanted to have a moment to share with anyone who's interested in attending the webinar for you to share a little bit more about what you'll be presenting. So could you give a little snapshot into your topic and what you hope people would walk away with?
Yes, thank you. My hope for the presentation is that we address disability within our clinical work head on. And what I mean by that is looking at ableism first and how that plays a role in the decisions we make as clinicians when we're serving folks with disabilities, and more so in relationships. So when we're dealing with couples or relationships in therapy, what does that look like when one partner is disabled, and how do we show up clinically, and what therapeutic decisions do we make? How are we being responsive throughout the process, before and even after? So yeah, it's going to give a breakdown of all of that and provide some nice responsive practices that can be incorporated into anyone's practice.
Fantastic. I know you are a very busy person and have a lot of areas of interest with play therapy, EFT. How did you kind of land here and walk us through kind of your journey to where you specialize and where your areas of interest lie?
Yeah. So that all started with my master's being in rehabilitation counseling, and so very centered around working with the disability community. I was interested in that because I had wanted to work with the deaf and hard of hearing, and so I've been serving that community for about 12 years now. But it was working with them that I was like, oh, I could do something else with this. I could be a counselor and serve this community in a more maybe specialized, knowledgeable way. And so I was excited and I did that. And then when I transitioned into a counselor position at a private rehabilitation facility, there's where I got to see relationships and families where one person acquired a brain injury, either a stroke or traumatic brain injury of some kind. And there's where all the questions came up of what do I actually do to help the system navigate this change? How do I support the relationship navigating this change? And there wasn't a lot out there at the time. This was in 2015. And so I wanted to know more, understand how do I work with relationships, and decided to return to do some more research and clinical work in this area. So I pursued my PhD, and that's where I found EFT. So got to see Sue Johnson speak at the Evolution of Psychotherapy and fell in love. And then ever since then found that actually this is a very adaptable model that can be supportive for working with various communities. And more specifically, how does this work with interabled relationships? That being one partner is disabled and one partner is non-disabled. And my focus in particular is those in which relationships have already been established, and someone acquires a disability during their time together. And so more specifically of when someone acquires a disability identity, what do we do? Right? How do they navigate the relationship? And also what can we do as clinicians to assist in that adjustment process and responding to the disability in a way that is supportive and not ableist, right? Or deficit oriented.
Absolutely. Thank you. So your topic on May 26th is disability responsive practices when working with interabled relationships. How do you, and you spoke to this a little bit, but how do you define and think about the terms interabled, disability, as people are thinking about, will this webinar be relevant to the work that I do? How do you think about that?
Yes, well, I want to say it's relevant to everybody. Reason being is there's over 61 million folks in the United States with a disability. And so it is very likely that we are going to work with folks with disabilities in our areas, right, of specialty and or work. Whether they're visible to us or not doesn't mean they don't exist. And so when I look at disability, I lean on the Americans with Disabilities Act definition of disability. That is where one person has either a mental or physical limitation that impacts one or more daily life activities. And so that's kind of the definition I sit with when it comes to that, mostly because that provides access to people for various services. And then interable, like I mentioned, it's not a catch-all term. It actually came from a book by Ben Matland, and I love that book. It was on interable romance. He interviewed a bunch of people and kind of wrote a book about the experiences and what he learned through that time. And so, yeah, it's not every relationship will categorize themselves as that. This is more just a way to capture the phenomenon, right? When one person's experiencing a disability and one person isn't, kind of that intermingling of abilities within a relationship.
Fantastic. Great. Well, we are really excited to learn from you on May 26th and glad you can join us.
Yes, thank you so much for the opportunity.
Thank you.